going to move into some more fighting.
UFC 133. Now that's what, 2 weeks away? That's the first weekend in August?
It is the first weekend in August. I believe it's the 6th.
Yeah, and it looks like we finally have solidified a card. And for anyone out there who has a hookup, October 1st or October something or another, they're coming to the Verizon Center, which is in D.C. Can a motherfucker get a ticket?
Yeah, come to the Verizon Center because we'll be there. We'll be there. We will 100%. See, George don't understand the upside potential of K-Dub and acquiring tickets. I got this, George. I can get the tickets.
He said acquiring.
I can get the tickets. Anyway, so what's up with this UFC 133 card?
133, we finally have some names on a list, and we're going to group some people together, and we're going to have a fight. What I found the most interesting out of this is they came to Rich Franklin and said, look, we still have you on the card. How about you fight so-and-so? And I think they wanted him to fight Gustafsson. They were going to move him from the prelim card, move him up, and Rich Franklin was like, no, I'm not doing it. He's like, I'm only fighting big-name people. He's like, I'm not spending my time. And it makes sense. At his point in his career, he's trying to make a run for a 205 belt, and beating some dude named Gustafsson ain't going to help. Now, or whoever else they had lined up to have him motherfucking fight.
This is the thing where I say with this fight, with Matt Hamill versus Gustafsson, in my mind, Rich Franklin's looking at that, for taking that bout. If you said fight Matt Hamill, I think he probably would have taken it because people know who Matt Hamill is.
Right.
Gustafsson is up and coming. You know, he doesn't have as big of a name as himself as somebody with Rich Franklin or Matt Hamill, who's been around longer in the UFC. But Gustafsson is the favorite in this fight. And I think in Rich Franklin's mind, he could hit me up in my inbox and correct me if I'm wrong.
Well, I think a lot of that has to do with Matt Hamill's last showing. Matt Hamill's last showing versus Rampage Jackson was abysmal.
Yeah.
And that was terrible.
Oh, you mean why he's the
yes.
Gustafsson? But I think another thing from Rich Franklin's perspective is like, okay, I fight this guy. If I beat him, it's kind of expected. I'm not going to get a lot of money for this fight. If I beat Gustafsson, everybody's like, okay, whatever. Rich Franklin's beat a lot of studs.
Right.
But if he loses to him, then that can really fuck his career up, and he might not look at seeing any more big money fights.
Yeah,
so I wouldn't have taken the fight.
Just to confirm, according to BloodyElbow.com, which I'm starting to like a little more than MMAJunkie.com, because I think Bloody Elbow doesn't. I think it looks like MMA Junkie's going a little mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
And any of us who have noticed a small news thing start to grow.
It looks like they're definitely going mainstream if they're junkie. I got jokes, bitches.
They tend to not, be as edgy as they were, because now they realize if we want to continue to grow, we can't say things.
Yeah, that's what George and I'll never grow.
So anyway, yeah, he was supposed to fight Alexander Gustafsson, or that's what they proposed, and Rich shut that down. But with that said, I think Gustafsson is going to pummel Hamill, and that'll be the end of that.
So you think that, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Gustafsson. He's looked good. Like you said, I agree with you. Matt Hamill's a great fighter, and he fights some really good fighters.
And he comes forward and he attacks and he tries real hard. But you know what trying real hard in the UFC does? It gets your ass whipped.
Yeah. And prior to his loss to Rampage Jackson, he was on a good, he was on
a fight. He had won five in a row.
But I just don't see it happening this time. I'm going to go with Gustafsson. Now, let's move to the fights on the main card.
Rory MacDonald versus Mike Pyle.
Mike Pyle. So what do you think?
I think Pyle's going to go with the upset.
Are you? Now, that's going to be a big upset. McDonald is a 3-1 favorite. Last time I saw Rory McDonald, he was very impressive.
Mike Pyle's on a 3-fight win streak.
Right. What do you have on McDonald right now? Look, go back to.
I'm going.
George and I just like do shit in the middle of stuff.
Exactly.
I'm like, I get excited about.
Bitches. He's on a 1-fight win streak. His last fight was UFC 129. He beat Nate Diaz with the UD. He beat the shit out of him.
Yeah, you remember that? That kid's jacked.
Yeah.
He's young. He's impressive. I'm going to go with Rory McDonald.
I'm going with the underdog.
He's good. George going on. I'm going to side with Vegas because I think Rory McDonald will win. I think he'll win in a pretty impressive fashion.
Now this next fighter, Jorge Riviera.
Yes.
Last time we saw him fight was versus everyone's favorite Brit. Mm-hmm. What's his name?
Bisping.
Yeah, whatever. And he lost. Mm-hmm. He got fucking knocked out in the second round.
Right.
So,
now he's going to be fighting Alicia
Socotra. Who you going with?
I'm going to go with Socotra. And if I'm not saying that right, you guys can leave me some fucked up shit in my inbox because Kevin cannot pronounce fighters' names.
I think Alessio's got the advantage here.
Yeah, I do think. I agree.
His last fight was versus Chris Weidman.
Mm-hmm.
He lost a decision, but before that he beat James Irvin, Steos Ledes, Joe Vita-Pepo. I think that dude delivered pizza last night.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vita-Pepo,
Good
whatever.
Wasn't that Pinocchio's father? Oh, that's Geppetto.
God damn,
My
this
fault.
motherfucker's on a roll.
Anyway.
Dennis Hallman versus Brian Ebersol.
Roll the dice on that one.
I'm going with Ebersol.
I'm gonna go with Ebersol as well. That's a very even fight. I mean, Vegas has it as pretty much a draw. I think they're leaning towards one of the guys. I'm not even sure which guy they're leaning towards.
They're leaning towards Ebersol because that's who the Uncut Show's going with.
Yeah, so we're going to go with Ebersol on that. Now, surprisingly, there've been so many changes to this card with so many of the other bouts and stuff like this. George came in, he goes, you know what, dude? I completely forgot that Vitor Belfort was on this card, and he's going to be fighting Akiyama.
Last time we saw Vitor Belfort, it was on February 5th, and that motherfucker got kicked upside his head with a crane kick from everyone's favorite striker.
Yeah, who's been trained by everyone's favorite 1980s actor, Siegel.
Steven. Yeah. Yes!
I said it. I've officially changed his name from Seagal to Siegel because I've got so much pressure from George and Jimmy to call him fucking Siegel. So you know what? Siegel he's been doing something. I actually saw a movie with him the other night, Machete. It's really Machete, but Machete, it might have been one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. Okay, I don't know.
Well, with that said, Akiyama's coming off 2 losses in a row. You know what happens in the UFC when you pick up that 3rd loss. You start to quiver a little bit because Dana usually comes by and goes, "Yeah, get out."
Yeah, I get it. Hey man, did you see that movie Sex Drive?
Oh man.
I mean, you know what? George gets on me because I get off a topic because I'm fucked up like that. But I'm gonna tell you what, man, you gotta see this fucking movie, man. I just happened to be flipping through my channel the other day and I came across this movie.
Kevin got one station.
I don't have one station. I got everything up in here.
My channel.
So you notice that when we have the fights, George is always here. I'm not at his crib. He's here because I got everything up in this game. Don't be deceived by George's bullshit. Okay.
You wanna know why? You wanna know why? Because I'm trying to convince Kevin. Look, you don't need to go to the bar. Kevin's like, man, it'd be cheaper if I just go out. I'm like, really? I was like, really?
Yeah, I get lit up at the bar and spend hundreds.
Because ask Kevin Kevin likes to have one drink. The problem is his drink's all the way at the back of the 15 standing in front of him, and the only way to get to it, he's got to drink the first 15. And I don't know.
That's how I roll, son.
Where y'all live, but 15 drinks around here.
Yeah. Did you see the movie yet, Sex Drive?
Man,
you guys, seriously, man, I want to see it on our comment board. If you've seen the movie Sex Drive, it came out like 2 years ago. That shit is funny. It's like one of those sleepers, dog. You got to see that shit.
What is it about?
Man, it's about this kid
that's
cares. Talking to this girl.
Anyway, what we're trying to get at is the last and final fight of the night because George has got things to do and Kevin's got to take his 97 kids to the beach. You see how big the van is this motherfucker has to rent to get his family to the beach.
SUVs.
Yeah, SUVs. Drivers. Anyway, Rashad Evans is fighting Tito Ortiz.
Yes.
And like I said before, I think this is a bad fight for Tito to take.
Right. It is. I agree. I just think
it's a win-win for him.
It is a win-win for him. I think because everybody's going to realize that Tito is coming off such short notice. To do this fight, he's taking it.
He's going to get some extra money. That's what I mean by a win-win. If he loses the fight, he gets a little more money than he was supposed to get paid anyway.
Now, I think it was Jess that wrote both of our inbox that talked about this fight earlier.
Yeah, I agree with her, and I responded to her email. It's a bad matchup.
Yeah, and I said one of the things is like, I think in response, she was like, why? And I think, like you said, it's a win-win situation for Tito Ortiz. But I think that Tito probably is on the confidence roller coaster right now after his showing, honestly. And if you think about it, when he fought Rashad Evans the first time, he hung in there, and he was injured apparently. He wasn't 100% healthy. Which, how do you feel about Tito? Because you kind of went like this. Because I know that's usually when someone's stirring up in that head of yours, and then after that, you usually say something really fucked up. And I don't
have anything really to say fucked up about this. But here's the thing: if Tito wins, hats off to you. It puts you in the top 3.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Tito can beat the top 3 guys. I mean, in the UFC at 205, he sure as hell can't beat John Jones.
No, I don't think anybody can beat John Jones.
Well, we'll find out because motherfucker Rampage put on one hell of an interview. Now, I'm going to tell you what. I think Rampage Jackson's could sell ice to Eskimos.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what he does at these press conferences. Yeah. And I think John Jones is really suppressing that hood mentality that's inside of him. Because I've heard, away from the microphone,
Oh, for real? Yeah, oh, shit.
In front of the microphone, he sits there and he's very proper and prim. Blah, 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 blah.
So he does that reporter on ghetto shit.
Yeah, pretty much. Great
which
video.
Is pretty much like a lot of us black Americans
I mean,
do.
if Tito wins this, great. Now you're in the top 3. Now what?
Right. He gets a big payday and he gets a good fight. I mean, you don't know. You don't know what happens, you know? I mean, these guys are like...
I'd love to see Tito win, with that said. I would love to see him win via headbutt.
I would love... I'm going to tell you what right now. I'm here right now to let you guys know if he catches Rashad Evans with the head, but over. Done.
That's a wrap.
Yeah, there's no lockout. There's nothing as lethal as that. Because if he hits him with that scrappy-do headbutt, shorty, it's a wrap. Okay? Now, like George said, I agree with you. I'd like to see Ortiz win. I think it would stir up shit and make it very interesting.
It would bring some entertainment back to the 205 class. Not that there's not enough, but I'm just saying it would be really entertaining to see Tito pull off this win.
It really would be.
Now, do I think he can? I didn't think. Look, I was the first one to jump out there and say he couldn't beat Ryan Bader if Ryan Bader stood on one foot. Now we're all starting to question what's up with Ryan Bader. You got knocked out by fucking Gomez Adams. Mm-hmm. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think once you see how Ortiz performs in this next fight, it'll tell you a lot about probably Ryan Bader as well. You know what I'm saying? If he goes in there and he is impressive against Evans, then a lot of people say, okay, well maybe Bader didn't have such a bad shot.
I tell you what, if Rashad Evans loses this fight, I'd like to see him fight Ryan Bader. Then we'll really know where Ryan Bader's at. But I mean, Ryan Bader's got back-to-back losses. He's plummeting worse than the fucking U.S. stock market.
Yeah, I mean, one of those back-to-back losses to us, Jones. I mean,
he got destroyed by Jones.
I'd say when you lose to John Jones or Silva or GSP. Count. Yeah, if you lose to John Jones, Silva, or GSP, it doesn't even count. You know. And on that note, we're getting the fuck out of here.